we have understood the various methodologies in terms of how to create the teacher presentation. Now let us get to the actual creation. Okay, so please note that there are three aspects of the teacher presentation. The first one is to how do you plan it. Second is in terms of actually how to create it. And third is in terms of how to present it or deliver it. Okay, let us go one by one. Are you all excited to know? Great, thanks. Okay, now let's begin with the planning part of it. We always start with an opening remarks, as you can see on the screen behind. What does it mean? The opening remarks or statements, what is it you're going to give? You're going to give, basically talk about the benefit of actually listening to the presentation. I repeat, benefit of actually listening to the presentation. Okay? Next, the subject. Basically, this is going to be your topic, your product or service where you're going to be talking about. The next one is mechanics and administration. Now, what do you mean by mechanics and administration? Please recall at the start of session, what did I say? I asked you to just put down your name in the manual on top of it, and I also gave some instructions by saying one side only it is printed, the blank page can be used for making notes, etc. etc. That is basically the mechanics and administration. Now, while doing your presentation, what is it you're going to do? You're going to tell your audience that I'm going to be talking about 3 different LCDs today as part of my presentation, and in return, I expect you to please note down my referrals in the reference sheets which you have kept in front of the desk, right? So that's all about mechanics and administration. Okay, next one. When we see the overview topic number 1, what we exactly mean your first LCD, right? Please remember this particular presentation type is going to be for 3 different LCDs we are going to be using. So first you talk about the first LCD. Here we are looking at body and detail. What is that you are going to do? Briefly, very briefly explain your particular LCD number 1, and more importantly, look at please create a success story. Now, couple of tips on the success story part. While doing the success story, what you are supposed to do is you have to remember 4 different aspects of the success story. Please note down. Okay, number one is going to be the challenges faced by your client or your end user. Okay, so challenges faced by your client or your end user. Second, the solution offered by your product or service. Second, the solution offered by your product or service. The third one is basically the end result of your solution or your product. And fourth, very important, the emotional benefit which the client gets by virtue of your product or service. Clear now? A couple of tips also on this. The first one, challenges. Now challenges, typically what happens is you are going to be talking about more in line with your USPs. Why is that I am saying USP? Let's take an example. Anyone would say, I am not in a position to get a particular profession, say HR or accountant, an architect. Now, the end user or your prospect, it is quite likely that they get thousands of people. Correct? Why is that they should choose you? That's why using your USP to link to the challenge is a very good idea. Okay? By the way, what do you mean by USPs? Typically, you know, what are the answers you get? Number 1, 24/7 service. 2, good quality. See, please understand. These are all typically can be used by anyone. Right? Now, just imagine if someone is going to say that my product or service is absolute nonsense. Could you please buy my product or service? No one is going to say. Everyone will claim that. That's why using a USP. Then, what is the USP then? USP is typically what your competitors cannot claim or say. Let me repeat. What your competitors cannot claim and say. So try to line with that challenge in line with your USP, which will make very good sense. The second one we are talking of what I said, the solution offered by your product or service. Now, solution offered, one tip is please do not use lot of technical jargons in your solution. Because see, you are a subject matter expert as far as your business is concerned, but at the same time, no point in giving all the technical jargons to you. Please understand, the feature presentation is basically intended to help your sales team, that is your co-members, in your chapter. So what is that they are going to do by understanding this? First of all, they do not understand, it will turn out to be a bouncer. So the effectiveness of the feature presentation is going for a toss. So please avoid technical jargons. The third one, the end result. End result, you try to give some numbers or some percentage. For example, by using my product or service, what is going to happen? The footfall in your office or in your workplace is going to increase by say 30%, 40%, or you say your productivity or efficiency grows up by 30%, 40%. So you try to bring in some numbers which will be very, very impactful for the listener to them. The fourth one, when I talk about emotional benefit, here please try to help out people in understanding that the emotional benefit of using my product or service. So in what way it is going to help you? Now the members will feel if by using the product or service of the feature presenter, okay, this is the emotional benefit the client has obtained, then what happens? It's quite likely that you see, let my client, friend, family, whomsoever is going to give you a referral, let them also get the same emotional benefit, right? So emotional benefit is very, very important. So you understood? So success story to have 4 different aspects. Okay, let's move ahead. Now you try to summarize this particular LCD, saying that this is what it is. Briefly you can summarize so that people understand better. Now at this stage, please provide some 30 seconds for the members to note down the referrals or connects you are looking for. Right? Now 30 seconds for it. Now over to the next LCD. The same again, the same format. Okay, again same summary. Then move to the third LCD. Done. Now at the end of this, you make a conclusion in terms of these are the 3 different LCDs I have spoken about, and I am looking for the specific ask in all 3 of them. Okay, done now. So this is how we have created the actual plan of creating the feature presentation. Any doubts in this? Any doubts? Okay, let's go ahead. Now the next stage, as I said, is how to create them. Now I have a question for everyone. You know, once you are writing a business email, what happens? There are 4 aspects to it, the 4 different parts. First is the email address of the recipient. Second, the subject. Okay. Third is the content, and fourth is the signature. Which one will you first write? Any sharing? Okay. Acha, okay. You mean to say email address? Okay. Now, what if you first write the email address and the incomplete part of the content, by mistake you press a button and the mail goes? What sort of a message or what sort of an image you are creating amongst your prospects or your clients? So, that may not be the right idea. Okay. So, what do you start with? You start with the actual content, type everything, and then go ahead and complete it. Let me give you one more example. Now, whenever a person is writing a book, right, at the back page you would have seen the synopsis of the book, right? Many of us have read it, correct? Now, you tell me, the author, will he write the entire book first or the synopsis first? Obviously the book, right? So, we always start with the content. So, now you see the LCD number 1, which in the plan was 4th or 5th step, comes first. So in fact, if you can look at the screen, we have given the time frames also in terms of creating. Say, for example, you are creating the LCD number 1, okay, within 20 seconds. Similarly, the next one, go to LCD 2, do the same thing. Again, repeat the same thing for the third one. Then come to the body of the LCD number 1 as we described. Again, So the same order. Now, as you can see, the order is entirely different from how did you plan. Now, once this is done, then you go to subject, like the example which I gave for the book author, right? Synopsis, later. Then the mechanics, what we spoke about. Then you come to the opening part. So this is how you create the feature presentation. Now the third part, let us come to the actual presentation or delivery. How is it likely to be? Is it going to be different from what we did in the planning and the creation? Yes. As you can see, the opening statement comes first. Okay. Then the subject, the mechanics, again the SAT 1, 2, 3, body 1, 2, 3, and a summary 1, 2, 3, then conclusion. Okay, so this is what is about actual creation of your feature presentation. Now, I'll give you around 2 minutes of time. Okay, I want you to create at least one LCD and then let's have some shares. Is it okay? Good? Okay, your time starts now. 2 minutes, please.